What is up YouTube, and welcome to this Wandavision finale and ending explained video. Oh man, we got double vision, double post-credit scene, and double Wanda, complete with an astral plane reading session. Yes, we didn't get Mephisto, Reed Richards, or whatever other theories that were going around the internet, but this finale on its own was superb and answered each of the questions it set up, but was disappointing in its own little world, ironically not linking up with anything other than SWORD and forgotten bit part players of the MCU, although Jimmy and Darcy were superb and did steal the show at times, but the show didn't go beyond the answers it gave. It showed us what was happening, why it was happening, but it didn't go beyond the meaning of these reveals. However, as a standalone show, it was superb, creative, and Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany gave us the best acting in that last couple of scenes in the entire MCU, complete with authenticity and gravitas unseen in the MCU outside of Thanos and Steve Rogers. We will be breaking down the ending to Wandavision and seeing where it could go next, so if you enjoyed the video, please do drop a like down below and subscribe with notifications on to never miss a video. We open where we left off last week with Wanda facing off against Agatha, who gets blasted with Hex energy, but this was all a part of Agatha's plan all along. She wanted to steal Wanda's Scarlet Witch chaos energy and power for herself. She mentions how she takes from the undeserving, which reminds me of Baron Mordo. Yes, at the end of Doctor Strange, we had Baron Mordo go around stealing magic from those he deems not worthy. And after this, I did expect Mordo to appear after this in some crazy MCU connection. But no, he didn't. But the door is not closed on that idea, considering that Agatha was left alive and on pause, so to speak, for when Wanda needs her knowledge of powers. Maybe Mordo's going to come to her next. I'll go into that part a bit more later in the video, but we have the White Vision as he arrives, and well, she asks, is it really him? Wanda is wondering, is it really her love who's come back? Except it's his body, except all the personality and emotion is gone, and his prime directive is to take out the Vision and seemingly also take out Wanda as he attacks her, only for the Westview Vision to arrive and run interference. Agatha asks who Wanda is going to choose, which is weird as White Vision is the body of her lover and Westview Vision is the manifestation of the memories and the Mind Stone inside her. So yeah, that's a weird one. That I didn't really like that, to be honest. But we catch up with Monica, who was notably absent last episode, except she was captured by Pietro, and here it is. The single worst thing the MCU has ever done. I can accept Spidey, Iron Man, I accept Black Widow only getting a movie post-death, but this is absolute trash. We learn that Pietro is actually an actor named Ralph Boner. Yes, Boner, the husband Agatha has been referring to all this time. He is an actor with the face of Evan Peters, and this whole thing, the return of Pietro with Fox Pietro's face, was all set up to make a stiffy joke. Seriously, I am actually unsure why Evan Peters agreed to return just for that. Of course, no Mephisto's fine, that was just a theory, but to have Peters return with that face and that Fox X-Men look, only for this to happen, is just ridiculous. It's that setup and that expectation they must have known, and I think that this is just one thing a bit too far. I mean, Mysterio not being from a different Earth, yes, I understand that. That was clever, because that's what Mysterio's like. But here, to have such a fan favourite character, and really one of the only good things of the latest Fox X-Men movies, to be done dirty like that, no, that is a rug pull which I cannot get on board with. If it was something else, if it was not Evan Peters, then that would be kind of funny. But yes, I didn't think that was very good. The necklace is curious, but as Agatha said, she just used his eyes and ears and mouth to get under Wanda's skin, and I worry for the future of the X-Men and feel that we're gonna get a fully fledged reboot and we're not gonna get Hugh Jackman to appear. It's been rumoured that we will be getting a fresh start with the franchise being called The Mutants in the MCU, the original name Stan Lee wanted for the X-Men, which I'm not really a fan of, but then again, the X-Men name on that movie poster comes with a lot of baggage, so I can get why they're doing it. We got more Jimmy Woo action as he went head to head with Hayward and used his magic, or, well, his sleight of hand to steal a phone and bluff that the FBI were on their way to arrest Hayward. And it just seems crazy that this whole thing can even possibly be covered up. Ultimately, Hayward gets arrested, and what was his motivation? Why did he do all this? I don't know, to have a powerful weapon? I mean, post-Endgame with these cosmic threats, I imagine that the World Security Council, or a new version of, or what's left of it, would be open to the idea of having a weapon like Vision under their control, and I'd imagine that he would have been able to kind of go a bit further than he would have pre-Endgame, or at least Infinity War. And that's the problem with the show. It sets up far too much, and without the wider MCU, there doesn't seem to be that much rationale or explanation for really why things happen. Why is there no Avengers? Where's Doctor Strange? It just seemed weird that all this is going on without anyone. It's like the Avengers when everyone was like, well, wait, where's Captain Marvel? But here, there's no one. There's just SWORD. But anyway, I did enjoy it as a whole. But, however, in the second slap in the face to wider Marvel fans, it is confirmed that the book Agatha has is the Darkhold. Now, I did begrudgingly accept that it might be the Darkhold, and Paul of Heavy Spoilers was very much on the button with this one. I mean, the minute I saw it, I was DM'd him and I was like, could this be? What is it? And he said, the Darkhold. And congratulations, you were right. But we've seen the Darkhold in the MCU in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and later Runaways. But this all but confirms that these two shows are not in the MCU, or at least they're not on the main Earth within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The Darkhold, as we've covered, is the opposite to the Book of Vishanti, the spell book of the mystic arts, and has a whole chapter dedicated to the Scarlet Witch and how it is her destiny to destroy the world. I'd imagine destroy the world means bust open the multiverse and open all realities, something we will see in Doctor Strange 2, The Multiverse of Madness. Now, the Darkhold has an opposite page showing what looks to be incursions and multiple Earths on the left-hand page, and maybe Wanda's true nature is of the multiverse and being a Nexus being. She even has more power than the Sorcerer Supreme, which made me think, hey, Doctor Strange is going to turn up, but no. That cameo was just Paul Bettany joking that he wanted to work with himself. Yes, upside down emoji. The whole problem with this show and its finale is that Marvel was so willing to take risks. We thought that this was it. They were going to be so crazy. We're going to have Evan Peters, all this kind of craziness. But in the end, they played it safe with Agatha working alone and absolutely nothing major in either of the post-credit scenes. Now, that's very unfortunate as we see the inhabitants of Westview awoken, or as Agatha puts it, have their strings cut, which was a real shame. But the pure horror moment of Westview residents walking towards Wanda was superb, and it does make me look forward to seeing a horror version. We learn how they felt her pain and her nightmares when they slept, as Tommy and Billy rushed to their mother. The whole episode was shot and displayed beautifully, and the idea that Wanda is bad by accident and thought that she made something nice for everyone was an intriguing narrative thread, but Double Vision are fighting in the sky, which looks gorgeous, and then Wanda has to make the decision. save the Westview residents or save her family. She can't be the hero and also have the ideal Americana life, as she tried to open the hex a bit, allowing SWORD in, but then relents, not wanting to lose her virtual family. They are coming apart very much like that iconic House of M cover. However, White Vision has turned up to spoil the fun, as SWORD also turned up for a showdown. This incredible shot of the family together was superb, and Wandavision nailed the emotion, and I felt every bit excited for this scene as I do for any big screen MCU moments. We see the Visions fight only to have a debate about mortality and identity and which one's the real one in the library, which reminded me of that moment in Age of Ultron when Ultron and Jarvis have that weird sort of AI kind of brain off. And, well, it's interesting they have a debate as they discuss just who is the real Vision, as White Vision was there to take down the Westview Vision down. They discuss the ship of Theseus, a thought experiment that is around the idea of if a thing is rebuilt over time, is it really the real thing? They settle on the idea that the memories are the one thing that remain and actually make you. The Vision's memories are actually inside himself and they're hard to remove, which he's told by the Westview Vision. In the comics, White Vision eventually regained his memories and emotion, and here White Vision flies off realizing that he is indeed Vision, albeit sans Mind Stones. So they, in the comics, got a divorce, so we're going to see some interesting stories move on from here, and I'll be excited to see where that goes next with Vision. But it's not the last we've seen of the Vision. Now, later on, Wanda says how Westview is an extension of the Mind Stone in her, and that maybe she could project that kind of Westview Vision onto the White Vision, or he will indeed relearn who he is with the help of Shuri, as we last saw his body in Wakanda in one of the many unresolved storylines. I mean, it's more interesting that Vision was being worked on by Shuri and then it was sent to SWORD. I want to see that. I want to see these stories. But I loved seeing the two boys take on the military. But Hayward, not content with being the biggest dick already, decides to go shoot kids mode, only for Monica to take the hit. And we see her powers at work manifest. And I can't wait to see where they go with this character, as she's gone full Spectrum or Photon or whatever her name is going to be. Probably Photon in honor of her mother, but it got the attention of Nick Fury, but more on that in the post-credits section in a bit. We'll then see a really cool scene as Wanda goes Age of Ultron, Wanda and hexes Agatha's mind, bringing her back to that moment she killed her whole coven, much like she did getting into the head of all the Avengers. I love this moment again, adding more horror to the MCU is always a good thing, and we got a sneak peek at how terrifying a Marvel Zombies What If could be. However, the witches rise as Agatha takes control of the situation, and I like how Wanda was like the difference between the two witches isn't just the level of training and knowledge, but it's the intent of what they do. Agatha moans that the world has pitchforks out for her, but she actively hurts people, whereas Wanda is not in control of her powers and she hurts people by proxy. They fight in the air in some stunning scenes as Agatha offers Wanda her own special Sim-style world in exchange for the chaos magic, as Wanda gets weaker and weaker, giving her the powers, but this is a trick as she keeps missing, and Wanda hits that Uno reverse card as Agatha was bluffing and said you can't change a spell, which means there's no chance of Westview being fixed to make the ideal world. However, Wanda played at her own game by putting up a protection spell, disabling her and becoming the full-on Scarlet Witch in one of the most badass scenes of the MCU. I was sitting there just like, go off sis, just go off, this is epic. I have to say that Agatha felt tiny for the MCU as someone just wanting to steal powers with no one behind pulling the strings or doing anything further, and the problem is nothing was explained beyond the motivations, and we never really got to know the bigger, wider world as we did in other shows. But this is a television villain, so it's suitable, but we need to kind of manage our expectations, I would imagine. But I did like how Wanda plans to lock her up in Westview as the role of a nosy neighbour, only to come to her if she needs help, ignoring Agatha's warning that she's unlocked something and fully realising her birthright. And that costume is amazing. I mean, it would be nice if we actually learn more about this Scarlet Witch prophecy, as in the comics, her true mother, introduced in the Scarlet Witch 2015 story, was one in a line of people to hold that mantle, only to be killed by the High Evolutionary. I expect that this will be paid off in Wanda's next appearance, as in my opinion it is a huge hole within this show. I believe a new episode was needed before this finale. However, her kids and Vision then disappear as the Westview bubble disappears, and just like the comics, Tommy and Billy go, and it was Agatha who told her in the comics that they were born of Mephisto's soul and then reincarnated years later as Wiccan and Speed, and while not physically her kids, they had the souls of her dead children, so I expect that to be a big thing moving on. We'll then get a scene showing Jimmy Woo leading up the operation and cleaning things up, and I'm really hoping that he gets a promotion next time we see him, hopefully in Ant-Man Quantumania. But Monica is taken to the cinema where a Skrull who was sent by someone who was a friend of her mother's reveals herself, only to suggest that Nick Fury wants to see her up there in the sky, which I would imagine is going to lead into Secret Invasion and later Captain Marvel 2. I initially thought Talos, but this would lead to the comic book version of SWORD and them operating out of the Peak, the base that Nick Fury was on at the end of Far From Home. Of course, Far From Home took place 8 months after this episode, with Monica, by this time of Spider-Man Far From Home, is already on that base and already operational. But we then get a look at Wanda in a cabin, which I expect is Sokovia, and the mountain is Wondergore Mountain, a key place in her history, and it was where the Darkhold was created, and Chthon, the creator, was imprisoned, the one who gave her the chaos magic in the comics, and was also a home to the High Evolutionary, so that is a big one. She is reading the Darkhold like Doctor Strange, and a twisted version of his theme is heard, and I expect her kids are calling out to her from the multiverse, as she is a Nexus being, and she can see and hear everything in the multiverse. I expect. That's just a theory there. I expect she was looking at a way to bring them back, no longer wanting to play by the rules of humans. But funnily enough, this is the same location that was used heavily in the X-Men Fox movie. So wink wink to you there. She is, I expect, going to be the opposite to Doctor Strange, dabbling with dark magic hitherto unseen, which is why Darcy is going to be in Doctor Strange 2, as she has examined this radiation extensively. Now, the idea of Mephisto is still a possibility, as she never actually found out where her kids came from, as in the comics she didn't find out much later that her kids were soul fragments of Mephisto, and I expect that at some point after trying to save them, she will head to Westview once more to speak to Agatha, who explains everything and starts to have a good turn like the comics. The weird thing is how Wanda also said, "Thanks for choosing me to be your mum," hinting at something else. But that is it for this video. Please do drop a like down below and subscribe with notifications on. I will have a supplementary video tomorrow. I do have things like Raya and the Last Dragon review coming soon. I do have my American Gods video, so do hit that subscribe because we do try to upload daily. And I'll see you soon, and goodbye.